Welcome, BDC community, to part two of our series, How to Get Out of Your Own Way in 2023. We are diving into the follow up of the series that we started on the last episode. So if you're catching this, I would really encourage you to go back and catch part one, because in each episode, I am piggybacking off the learning from the last. And I talked a little bit about last week. The reason I decided to create this content and create a series was because you can create the best plans for the year, but the reason we don't execute the plans is because we get in our own way in some capacity. And in part one, what I helped you do was actually get more clear. We called it exposing the gaps. I had you think about your goal and kind of magnify your goal and kick it up a notch and listen to internally and in your body what feelings and thoughts came up around accomplishing that goal. And you can do this all the time. You can do this with your kids. And I even mentioned in that series, if I have 1 minute to coach with somebody, you betcha I'm going to ask a similar question to them, because it basically allows me to go in real fast and find their blind spots and their limitations. And you can I call it gaps, limiting beliefs, limiting decisions. For me, they're all interchangeable. What we're trying to do is figure out, why is he or she standing in your own way? Because underneath it is a belief that's stopping you from moving the hell out of the way, which it's crazy, right? That we know we consciously want something and yet we get in our own way of having it. And so today, part two, we're talking about the real purpose of goal setting from my perspective. And I don't think that this is necessarily a popular opinion. And I don't think we talk about it a lot, but I think it will blow your mind up a little bit to help you understand and reframe how you experience goals. And we're talking about the new year. So, the energy of setting goals is strong right now. And I don't dismiss any of that. We should be setting goals. They help us kind of create a target for which we are seeing visually where to go. So this is not a goal setting session. I'm not going to walk you through SMART goals. I'm not going to blah, 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 do all those things. I teach that in my communities in some capacity. I teach it in my own way. But I'm using goals to help you understand the relevance of where the magic of goal setting really is today. And it has nothing to do with achieving the actual goal. It has nothing to do with the revenue mark you will set, the number of clients you will serve, how much weight you will lose, how much you will back squat, the dream house. It's none of those things, actually. And I'm going to talk about what it actually is in a moment. But let's do a little bit of teaching around this. I want to review the parts of your mind again, and I will drill this over again. This is a Core Vault teaching inside of our BDC community. And it helps, I think, elevate you in your own self-awareness and understanding, but this helps you coach your clients better. If you're a coach, you should understand this thoroughly. You should understand this deeply, and you should ask questions about this very notion. So if we can break down our mind and just, let's have a picture of our mind. And throughout the week, I'm going to be sharing in social media graphics as well to help just break this open a little bit more. But if you imagine your mind and like just a 2D picture of your brain, you have two parts of your mind, the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. The conscious mind really only makes up about 5% of your mind. It's the part that we're consciously aware of. Consciously talking to you. I consciously move my arms. I'm using my voice. I consciously have a goal in mind. The other part, the other 95%, by the way, is the unconscious mind. This is the stuff that just happens automatically. Breath, blood pumping, all the important stuff that keep you alive. And also inside of there is all of the unconscious thoughts and beliefs that have been buried in your brain since you were born and even passed down to you from generations before. These are all the things that we're subject to and become more or less like installations. Think of it as a filing cabinet of experiences, belief systems, trauma. Religion might have influence on it. The adults and guardians in your life, and they influence. And so there's a lot inside there that we basically store in these cabinets, and often we forget they're there until something basically creates them and surfaces and brings them to the surface. And one of the presuppositions of the unconscious mind is that anything that is brought to the surface is for purpose. The brain's basically saying, hey, dude, this needs to have some awareness. We need to do some work on this so that we can grow. But sometimes we're like, where did that come here? I don't want that around. And I don't want to feel this way. ignore, and we're going to be talking about emotional management in the next part of this series, which is gold. But I also want you to know this about the conscious mind. The conscious mind is the goal getter. So it is the one that vocalizes what it wants. However, the unconscious mind is the goal seeker. Anybody see a problem with that or hear a problem with that? That's right. The unconscious mind that has all the belief systems buried and experiences inside is the one that actually goes after the thing that we verbally said we wanted. So if there is a lack of congruency, if the unconscious mind is like, I don't believe I'm worthy of having this, I can't have it, that's too hard, I don't have enough time, then you bet you the thing that we vocalize consciously is not going to be attained unless we shake up some of those belief systems, shake up some of that awareness, become aware that that gap even exists, and help step out of our own way to have it. Right? And the other thing is that sometimes we consciously say something that we want, but your unconscious doesn't actually really care. It doesn't feel like it's important. I've seen this a lot in weight loss. The conscious mind says, I want to lose weight because outside we're comparing ourselves to all these other women's bodies or fitness levels. But unconsciously, the mind's like, I actually don't care. Does not feel a priority. I feel pretty great. I'm healthy. I'm keeping track, but I don't think I really want to do more effort than exists here. Could be like the same in business. Consciously, you want to make 500K, but the unconscious, like, I'm good. I'm safe here. I have everything I want and need. Right? So when there's battle and there's conflict or incongruency, then it helps us see like, oh, what's happening between the conscious and unconscious? So then why does goal setting actually matter? And here is my perspective, and perhaps the unpopular opinion is that it's actually about the journey of who you have to become in order to achieve the goal. That's the most important part of goal setting. So I'm going to say that again. It's actually about the journey of who you have to become in order to achieve the goal. In a nutshell, what that means is the identity you must have to adopt is actually the sweet sauce of setting a goal and working towards it. It's about the day in and day out action steps that you have to take in order to achieve that thing. It's about the habits you have to adopt to become the person who achieves the results that you're consciously saying. It's literally about shifting your identity. And in the pursuit of that, though, we get in our own way because it is hard to create new habits because we've never been there before. And honestly, we're not supposed to know how. When we set a big, scary goal, we're not supposed to know how to get there. But for some reason, we tell ourselves like we should be. We've never been there before. How would we know? That's why we surround ourselves with coaches and hire people to support us that have already been there because they know what it's like. But in the pursuit of what we want, we get in our own way because it is hard, because it is uncomfortable, because life happens around us, because our priorities are tested and challenged. So do you see this, that if I have and want a thing, so I'm just going to generically use 100K in profit. That's my goal. For 2023, that's my goal. I would love to surpass or hit beyond 100K in profit. And so we just keep doing the same habits and the same things we've always done. And we start to say, like, why am I falling short here? That's because we haven't asked ourselves a more important question, which is, who do I have to become? What new thoughts and actions do I have to adopt and participate in order to become a woman who makes 100K in profit? And I'm going to ask myself that same question as I hit 200, as 500, as a million. I'm going to ask that same question in parenting. If I've only parented a 1-year-old, I'm going to ask myself, who do I have to become to parent a 5-year-old? Now I'm like a teenager. Who do I have to become as a mother to parent a 16 and 17-year-old? Because who I needed to be as a mom when she was 12 is not the same parent I am going to have to be. I am going to have to adopt new habits. I'm going to have to watch how I judge her response, like says the things to me. I'm going to have to do a lot of different things, and I'm going to have to adopt a new identity in doing that. And that is way more important than any goal you will achieve, because you're literally shedding your skin through the process of becoming over and over. But many people choose not to do that because that's scary. When we become something else, we leave people behind. We let go of things that we thought mattered. We're afraid of what it's going to feel like to step into this new identity because what might it bring with us? Right? But here's the thing, friends, you've already done this a million times. Like I mentioned, if you are a parent, you've had to do this over and over to become a mother that parents a different age child. If you dated someone and then you got married, you had to shift an identity because you had new goals together. So then you have to say, like, if we want to buy a house, right? Or we want to start a family, what are we going to have to do to attain this goal? Well, we're going to have to be a family that saves money to put away for a down payment, right? And that is a new habit and it's part of your new identity. Just like if you said, I'm going to become a runner. Well, then you're going to have to create a habit of running, right? And you're going to have to adopt that over time and build upon that. So much of setting goals is deeply about identity shifting, right? And we can tap into the evidence that you've done this because of those things, right? Like in entrepreneurship, for example, you might have had a belief, an identity that money is hard to make, right? But then you got into entrepreneurship and you're like, I can literally put out an offer and people pay me to help them change their life, right? A really great example of this is COVID. Like if you think about the beliefs you held at the beginning of the COVID experience, maybe mid experience to later experience, you will see that your beliefs changed, your identity and beliefs shifted. If you think about how you thought about marriage as a 17-year-old, it's different than a 40-year-old. If you thought about foods and health and nutrition, you already have ample evidence of your positive ability to shift identity. But when we tackle something new, it starts to feel a little heavier. It feels like a little bit more impossible. So I think there's a vast majority of people that get so steadfast on the goal. They get this goal, they pin it up in their office, they write it everywhere, and they're so focused on the goal instead of asking themselves, who do I need to become in order to achieve that goal? So as you listen to this part of the series, part 2, and as you walk away from this, here's my homework and my challenge for you is I would love for you to journal this question. Who do I need to become? And what do I need to do differently to achieve that goal? And I encourage you to get granular. This might say, I need to be a person that pitches myself to teach inside of groups, to speak on stages. I have to be a person that sets boundaries. I have to be a person that actually does a grounding day and maps out my entire week. I have to be the person that believes in myself. I have to be the person that shows up every day and does thought work around my self-belief. So I would invite you to sit down and do a journaling activity so you can stay up with this entire series and actually get results. I am going to be doing more of this work, more intentional with live coaching inside our 3-part live training coming up called How to Get Out of Your Own Way Naturally and learn how to train your brain for success and help your clients do the same. So I'm going to go into these modalities a little bit more deeply inside our live training taking place January 17th through the 19th, 10 a.m. Mountain Time. You sign up. I will send you the links every day. You'll pop in live with me and you're going to do the work on yourself, but I'm actually going to give you the tools and the tactics to do this work with your clients too. Because again, we can only take our clients as far as we take ourselves. So I want you to go through it. And then I want you to think, how can I wear this hat for my clients? And how can I take these same modalities that Amanda has shared with me and help my clients be successful as well? Right? So inside this training, I'm going to share with you the number one thing you must do to retrain your brain for personal success without taking lots of time to do this. These things are actionable and simple. I'm also going to teach you why personal development may not be working for you. There's a lot of things that people say you should do. And if you're not doing things that are more important than that, it's not going to be effective. I'm also going to teach you how to tap into confidence, like spontaneously, immediately, whenever you want, without spending thousands of dollars on a therapist or even on a coach to help you access a feeling of confidence. So you can sign up for the training, by the way, at amanda-walker.com/retrain your brain. And again, all the links and the show notes and the questions I asked, or all the links and the questions I've asked today are inside the show notes. So if you're driving, walking, or something like that, and you weren't able to access them, you can go back. But that's your homework assignment from this second part of the 4-part series. Again, next week, we will release 2 more episodes, Tuesday, Friday, to continue on this series. We're going to be looking at now, how do we manage our emotions, which for me is the queen of success when it comes to execution. And then I'm tie all of it together in the 4th part coming up next week. Can you do me one favor though, as you're listening to this? My mission is to help 1 million coaches serve 1,000 clients. And you may not self-identify as a coach, but you are a coach in some way, whether you're a parent, you're a mother, you're a colleague, you're a leader in some capacity. And the way we get to serve more people is through sharing. The power of social media is upon us. So if you could do me a favor and screenshot this episode right now as you're listening, can you just tag me and share it in your stories? And if that doesn't work for you, can you screenshot it and send it to a friend with a link to the episode and say, hey, I really want you to have success. This series is speaking to me, and share it away. And if it's not speaking to you, then no pressure. I got you. That's fine. There'll be more. But I'm really honored if you share, because that's how more people find us. And if you haven't left a review on the podcast, that's even more amazing. It takes 2 minutes in iTunes to just give us 5 stars and tell us that this is an amazing podcast that is really self-supporting you as a coach, personally and in serving your clients. So I'm so excited to be back with you next week as we head into part 3. And until then, keep doing the work, and we are supporting you to get out of your own way in 2023.